on a conversation with Takuma Robach, managing editor of the Chicago Defender. Hermine Hartman is joining us. Over the course of Ms. Hartman's eclectic career, Hermine has distinguished herself as a media pioneer, the founder of Chicago's leading African-American mega newspaper, Indigo. She's one of the few African-American women in publishing. Hartman was born in Chicago on September 24th, 1947, the daughter of Herman Hartman, the first Black Pepsi Cola distributor in the United States, and Mildred Bowden, a retired administrator of Cook County Hospital. Her career began during the Civil Rights Movement while working for Operation Breadbasket with Reverend Jesse Jackson. She coordinated the organization's Black Expo. She produced public service programming for WBBM TV in Chicago, and she has been a leading influence in national media conversations about the state of Black media. Also joining us, the career of Delmarie Cobb. Delmarie Cobb will be joining us because she is a media consultant and political consultant that spans the historic and credible presidential campaigns of the first African-American man and the first African-American woman nominee of the Democratic Party. She also served as the first African-American press secretary for the Democratic National Convention upon its successful return to Chicago in 1996. She has run the campaigns of Alderman Bobby Rush to Congress. She ran my campaign for Congress in 1995. Comptroller Dan Hines, Cook County State's Attorney Dick Devine. She is one of the most sought-after political consultants on the scene today. And Takuma Robach, the managing editor of Chicago Defender, whose career spanning more than 30 years includes the Smithsonian Magazine, San Francisco Chronicle, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I've invited these three guests to this program to talk about the state of Black media and where we go next. Hermine Hartman, welcome to KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Good to see you, Delmarie Cobb.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Mr. Robach, welcome back. Hermine, share with us the state of Black media, and I'd like to ask the same question when you're finished of Ms. Cobb.
Well, there was a report just released, Bill Foundation, to say that Black media is taking a real dive. 87% of media has vanished. Black media is in trouble. As you know, the industry itself has, from advertising, has just taken a hit. We've just taken a hard hit. We're seeing more on social media than we are in print media. Many of us in print media kind of did a pivot to electronic media, but it's not the same. Let's not kid ourselves. It's not the same. So there's problems. We're looking at, in the state of Illinois, some of the legislators are coming together to support Black media in some shape, form, or fashion. It's not conclusive yet, but it's on the drawing table for such financial kind of support. And then let me add another segment. We look at the large companies. McDonald's, Byron Allen has a suit in to McDonald's that is going to be heard in court, that we are so disproportionate to what our consumer product is, what our consumer spend is to advertising. $1.9 billion, for example, in McDonald's spent in advertising. 5 million of that went to Black media. So the money is not distributed equitably. Walmart has just made an announcement that their diversity, inclusion, equity program eliminates. So we're catching it both ways. We're catching hell on the industry change, but then the advertisers are beginning to change too. And those large advertisers that we have had seemingly are going to vanish under the Trump regime.
Delmarie Cobb?
And that's been the way it's been for a long, long time. We've seen this coming. That's actually how Hermine and I met, because she was working on Indigo and I was working on a television news magazine at the time called Street Life. And someone had forwarded the media buys of all the top corporations, and they sent them to me secretly. And I remember Pepsi Cola doing 1% to Black media, 1%. And we disproportionately drink soda. We're 13% of the population. We drink 39% of the soda. We buy 39% of the cosmetics. We buy 39%, I mean, everything over proportionate, our numbers. And yet we don't get any of it back. I remember, and I'm sure you may remember, when Nancy Jefferson challenged Quaker Oats to spend money with the Black media. And Quaker Oats said, well, I didn't know we had to, because you buy our products anyway. And so she stood on the mouth of the Chicago River and poured boxes of oatmeal into the Chicago River to make her point. And once again, they're saying that we don't need to spend money with you because you're going to buy our product anyway. And so that is the downfall of Black media. How can you survive if people aren't spending, if the advertisers aren't spending money with you? So instead of rewarding Black people for buying your product, you're going to punish Black people for buying your product. And you punish them by not letting them have a voice that reflects their community. And I always say, I cannot pick up a Black newspaper anywhere, any day, that I don't see a story in there that I didn't see anywhere else.
When we come forward, I'm going to ask Hermine Hartman and Del Marie Cobb to give us a current state of play of the nation's politics, what happened in the last election, the importance of Black media in telling the truth to our people so that we might be able to make informed decisions, including how we vote. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
Speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. We aim to be a thermostat, transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online. I read that 3 out of 4 adults in the United States have a high risk factor for severe COVID-19. And Black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Here's another great reason to use the United States Postal Service this season. Your boxes are wrapped and the gifts are in. Our employees are ready. Let the holiday ride begin. Let's start with the price. It's easy to manage when you ship with the reliable USPS Ground Advantage. In just a few days, it's sure to arrive. We're working nonstop to keep the spirit alive. USPS Ground Advantage, the affordable and reliable shipping solution for the holidays. Visit USPS.com/advantage.
As we go a little something like this.
Hey, it is me, D.L. Huger, and I am thrilled to be heard weekdays in my hometown on KBLA Talk 1580. So check out the D.L. Huger Afternoon Show weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. We got a
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. We are joined by three very distinguished journalists: Takuma Robach, the managing editor of the Chicago Daily Defender; Delmarie Cobb of the Publicity Works, national press secretary for the Democratic National Campaign and Committee and Convention in 1996; Hermine Hartman, the president and founder of Indigo. Delmarie Cobb, I want to pick up on this question, and then Hermine, I want to mix this up a little bit, and Takuma, then we'll kind of come in. Delmarie, what happened in this campaign? What went wrong?
Well, I just believe that we didn't tell our story. We had a wonderful story to tell as Democrats. I mean, Biden was one of the most consequential presidents in my lifetime, certainly, other than Lyndon Baines Johnson. And for us not to tell that story incessantly, and for Black women especially, I mean, of course, we came out in the numbers, but it wasn't just coming out in the numbers. It was making sure that people knew that story. I mean, for the first time, we had a Black woman vice president who Biden then decided to select as his successor. And if it weren't for Biden, there would not have been a Kamala Harris. Let's be clear about that. And the same thing for the fact that we have Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. We had other presidents that had an opportunity to put a Black woman on the Supreme Court and did not do it. And the same with all the Black women federal judges that Biden has been like 40 going north, making sure that he stacked the courts to offset the damage Trump did when he was in office the first time. So we had an incredible story to tell. Your father, when I was on his campaign in 1988 as his national traveling press secretary, he talked about infrastructure. That's what he talked about in 1988. It took Biden to get it passed. That's how long it took. So there's this wonderful story to tell, and they did not tell it. And the Republicans lie every opportunity they get. Everything that comes out of their mouths is a lie. And if you tell a lie enough, people will believe it.
Hermine Hartman, share with us your thoughts.
One thing, 10 million Democrats didn't vote. 10 million Democrats didn't vote. That's major. Secondly, to Delmarie's point, I think messaging could have been much better. I think there were some things that were just overlooked, just not talked about at all. Comparison to Trump was not made as hard, as forceful, as aggressive as it might have been. And then thirdly, I wonder, does America want a female president? It's not that Black women didn't vote for her. I've been saying this ever since the first day that Kamala ran for president, as the press asked, would Black women vote for Kamala? And I said, that's not the question. The question is, will white women vote for Kamala? And I think therein lies a problem. And the other thing is, the Democrats have had the civil rights voice within, outside, pushing, giving the message, giving the strong message, giving the rationale, giving reasoning, giving historical context, giving meaning to these elections. Civil rights voice missing in action.
Hermine, it was really interesting, and I'm directing this to Brother Robach. Brother Robach, we African-American men had some barbershop talk going on, and there was this concern that Black men would abandon Kamala Harris, abandon the Democratic Party. It just did not happen in this election. Black men voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris.
And I believe those numbers are about 78%. The numbers could have been better, however. And one thing I wanted to add on to is that I think that our mainstream journalism institutions didn't do a good enough job of scrutinizing the messaging from the other side of, I would say, mainstreaming some of the racism and xenophobia that we saw take place during the first debate with Biden, and certainly during the course of this campaign. There's simply a dereliction of duty there. I can think of one major particular newspaper that has a substantial voice that had the opportunity to publish an endorsement of Vice President Harris, but neglected to do so because of the person who owns that publication. So again, there wasn't enough accountability, in my belief, of the mainstream media in holding the president-elect accountable for his words, his actions, his positions. And we even saw that locally as well when the president-elect appeared at a couple of the local events in Chicago, including NABJ and including the City Club of Chicago event. There was some type of scrutiny there, but it just couldn't drown out the overall noise.
Ms. Hartman, Del Marie, Takuma, this campaign raised more money than any campaign in presidential history. Did Black-owned media get enough of it and a fair share in order to articulate these messages to our community? Hermine Hartman.
I had advertising for Indigo Studio television program for, I think, 4 weeks. And I appealed to them to say, I have an audience of about 1 million people, and I think you need that audience. And they advertised. Did they do enough? Of course not. They never do. Barack Obama spent $10,000. $10,000.
$10,000 for what?
For Black media.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm not.
$10,000.
Yes, that was what he spent with Black media. And and I'm here to tell you that Black media took him, introduced him to the world. First ever story on Barack Obama was in Indigo. No, they disregard us. They don't find us. They don't know us. That's why they lost, because the mainstream media did not do them justice. Everything Trump said was okay, without accountability, without fact checking, without scrutiny. Just say anything Trump and we'll report it in the name of reporting, but with no decipher whatsoever. That was wrong. That was just dead wrong. It's not good journalism. It's not good, sensibility. It was just wrong. Nevertheless, they did it. Black media has been the push. Black media has been the pull. Black media has been the factual. And so to ignore it or to miss it is part of the ground game that's missing.
Del Marie Cobb, did the campaign, the Democratic Party, spend enough money on high-level qualified consultants like yourself in the 2024 campaign?
No, that is also part of the problem, is that it's they keep going back to the same people. So the same people who did John Kerry's campaign, did Al Gore's campaign, or Al Gore's, then John Kerry, then Hillary Clinton, then Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So they did all those campaigns. It's the same people. And I know who they are because I was there for Hillary Clinton. I was her Illinois press secretary. So I know the names. I'm familiar with them. And I saw them doing the same campaign. So you've got no one who can talk outside the Beltway. So everything you're getting is like talking to your own echo. That's what you're getting. And so, it was a 107-day campaign. I thought she did a great job for a 107-day campaign. We got to understand that it was not a 2-year campaign like Hillary Clinton ran. But if Hillary Clinton the most famous woman on the face of the earth, could not get elected. What would make us think that a Black woman would get elected president when this country is racist and sexist? We know that. And so we knew it was going to be a heavy lift, and it was going to be all hands on deck. And part of the reason, it goes back to what the original questions were from you about Black media. If you don't spend money with Black media will not be here to tell your story, to push your story, to make sure people hear your story. And that's what's happening. We're getting fewer and fewer outlets to tell our story.
Takuma Robach, did the Chicago Defender get its fair share of resources from the Democratic Party in 2024?
I would imagine it has. It's kind of above my pay grade, but yes, I would imagine not. I think there's one qualification though, because we are part of the RTM chain, and we have other publications that were in swing states, so they got more funding. But I can't speak to what they received, but I would imagine no.
So earlier in the program, Takuma said that like 86 or 87% of our traditional media sources have essentially lost journalists. They've left, they're no longer participating. And in no small measure, because we are still disrespecting our own. I mean, we're not prioritizing Black consultants, Black media, Black newspapers, Black magazines, or any of the traditional sources. Hermine, you have been innovative in recognizing that your paper had to move from print to digital in order to be able to compete those dollars. Share with us that innovation.
Well, the industry took a dive, and taking a dive means out of business. We've seen Ebony go out of business. For me, the magic moment was when Newsweek went out of business. I cried all day long because I said, well, if you can't stand up and you don't see the writing on the wall now, then you'll never see it. Here's a magazine that was current. They were on top of politics, economics, business. They had advertising, and they could not sustain. So if they could not sustain, what's a boutique company like mine going to do? We won't be here. It's time to make the move. It's time to do the change. The most successful paper when internet came into being was really the Wall Street Journal. They always made you pay for their news. They never lost sight of the dollar. Other newspapers, Tribune, Sun-Times, New York Times, they did something different. They were trying to have the internet as inclusion. It's a bonus. It's an add-on. It's not the main thing. Well, that was a big industry mistake. And then along the way, you had other publications just starting out as startups in news. We've missed the podcast. Same thing happened in the podcast world, in the radio world. So we've missed some things. We've not been, up to date with the industry. This is a very innovative industry. It's a fast changing industry, and it moves very, very quickly. In today's world, everybody's a journalist. Everybody's a journalist. Just read me on Facebook and I'll tell you what I think about whatever you want to know.
I don't know how I became a journalist.
That's not good enough for you. Just go to TikTok and I'll do a little dance for you and tell you what I want you to know. So, I mean, it's the whole credibility. Mainstream media has failed us. Hear me. They have failed us. Washington Post did not endorse. LA Times did not endorse. This is a challenge to media for them not to endorse. You have the nighttime comedians on TV doing satire, making fun and games of what politicians are doing. So it becomes diluted. It becomes funny. It becomes non-serious as to what they do. Carmela never should have went on SNL. That was a joke on a joke. What a joke. That was a goddamn joke. Okay? And if you're going to do that kind of thing, and this goes back to your father and me, it was always, we have to have the right image. Yes, you can go on SNL, but you have to be the president since you're running for the president. The image is important. And so when we keep reducing the politician, we keep making fun of the politician, the image and the communication that you give to the public is, this ain't serious. This is funny. This is fun and games. This is cutesy. And the other thing that I raised question with is the celebrities who did the endorsements. Beyonce endorses, and the people that she's trying to reach cannot afford to buy a ticket to her concert. Is this good or is this bad? I don't think it worked.
Let me share with everyone that I think you've touched a nerve, Hermine, and certainly you have, Del Marie and Takuma. One of the things that we're going to do at KBLA leadership of Tavis Smiley is be intentional in supporting Black media. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, we'll continue our conversation.
You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Island with 4 things you should know from BIN News. There's still no verdict in Daniel Penny's subway chokehold trial in Manhattan after 3 days of deliberations. Penny is the Long Island Marine veteran accused of choking Jordan Neely to death on a subway in May 2023. NYPD is releasing more surveillance photos of the suspect accused of shooting and killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. The images are much clearer and show most of the suspect's face. Lawyers for the family of 15-year-old Jasmine Tucker are looking into the Akron police shooting of the black teen last week. Jasmine was shot and killed by Akron, Ohio police officers. Nearly 5 million people in Northern California are no longer under a tsunami warning after a 7.0 earthquake hit. The warning has been canceled by the Tsunami Warning Center. The quake hit near the California-Oregon state line. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
A crash in South LA. This is the 110 southbound before Vernon, blocking the left lane. Motorcycle involved. Big delays all the way from the 5 out of Elysian Park. The northbound side of the 110. It's a tough drive overall from the 405 freeway and stretches as you continue back to the 110 freeway. And it's also very slow moving as you make your way through the Irvine area. Crash 405 northbound before the 133, blocking the 2 right lanes. Delays pushing back away from that 5 split. And then beyond the wreck, the 405 is going to be slow moving ahead all the way to Westminster Boulevard.
Save more this holiday season by becoming a My Lowe's Rewards member. Don't miss new member deals dropping every week, like $15 off a purchase of $50 or more on select Bounty, Charmin, and Puffs paper products. Join for free today. Subject to terms and conditions. Visit Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Somebody needs to help me understand something. How can an offensive coordinator who helped the NFL Kansas City Chiefs win 2 Super Bowls not be good enough in the same role at UCLA? That's the mystery on the table today. Several sources are reporting that UCLA fired offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy today after only 1 season. Bieniemy was offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders in 2023. He is not the reason UCLA finished 5-7 and ranked 126 in the nation in scoring. Bieniemy went from coaching full-time football players to kids in college who are supposed to be taking classes, in addition to practicing every day during the week. College players don't have the luxury of spending all morning in film rooms, then go to practice, and then have more meetings. That's life in the NFL. It takes time to help turn around a low-level college football program, and UCLA did not give Bieniemy the time to do it. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Award based on 2024 models. For J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 26.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Taking retail delivery by 1/2/25.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580. I'm honored and proud to have Delmarie Cobb, Takuma Robach, and Hermine Hartman as my special guests on KBLA Talk 1580. I have a question from one of our producers at KBLA, and I think I should initially direct it to Delmarie Cobb. Why is it that Black consultants, if they're hired at all, only get contracts to engage the Black community? How does that advance the strategy? Black consultants can mobilize many more communities than just Black folk. I mean, when I ran for Congress, Delmarie, I didn't just ask you to look at the Black side of the district. I asked you to come up with a strategy to help me be successful across farming communities, inner city, urban, suburban, rural communities. Why is it that we are only seen as Black people capable of speaking to Black people?
Well, I've spent 30 years not doing that. So I will not work a campaign if I'm only hired to talk to Black people. I make it clear that I am a political consultant and I do everybody. And if you want a Black person for window dressing, then you need to get somebody else other than me. And I have walked, and I often say, if I just had the money I've walked away from, I'd be rich. So I have not done that. And now the benefit they get when they hire me is that I can speak to Black people.
Yes.
So that's
yes.
a value added. And I let them know that, because when they see how many Black people I do know, you know, that's a value added. But I'm not going to be hired just for that. Now, but there are people who do that because if you want to work, for a lot of people, that's the only way you're going to work. And so people accept that. I think it's wrong, and I think we need to reject it, and I think we need to push back, because again, if you don't, you will never build capacity. And the whole idea is to build capacity, and that's what we're lacking.
You know, if the political campaigns, but also the private sector, particularly in the anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion environment, still want to reach out to the Black community, I mean, it's one thing, Hermine, that I just asked Del Marie Cobb, that one of our producers asked the question, why is it that you are hired only to talk to Black folks when Hermine Hartman and Indigo can see the entire city, you can see the entire state, and obviously the Defender can communicate with the entire country. Takuma wrote an article on me yesterday that is all over the universe today from the Defender, but he used it and it projected a national platform. It's not just Black media. He raises it as national consciousness. Hermine, why is it that we are seen as only capable of talking to Black people?
It's stereotypical and it's racist. It's very simple. It's stereotypical and it's racist. I am a Black woman, therefore all you know and can do is that of a Black woman, whatever that might be. It's not true. Here's the irony of it all. We have to be better. We have to be more innovative. We have to be more informed. Del Marie can't go on TV talking about the Black community and not know the whole spectrum of what she speaks. So here is another problem. On TV, as these experts and these talk show hosts, where do they get the people? Where do they get the one book author? Just wrote a book last week on the Civil War, and then you become the expert on Black population folk. Why? It's a stereotype. We allow them. Del Marie and I are hand in hand in this because we go to the table to say, no Black, no female. Want the campaign? We'll do the campaign. I did a campaign for Bruce Rauner, who was Republican, and I broke rank from everybody to say, yes, I can, and yes, you can win, Mr. Republican. Let's go. This is how we're going to do it. He had enough money to allow me to do all the crazy stuff I wanted to do, and he won. So you have to break this. It's stereotypical. And what people have to realize is probably the truth of it comes from Black media. The article that Mr. Robach wrote, I read today, it was beautiful. It was excellent. It was factual. It stated the case. The article that I did stated the case. And so we have to stop. We cannot keep relying on the New York Times and the Tribune for our perspective. We have a perspective. There is another perspective, and they need to look at that perspective. And it's for us to do that.
Takuma?
I think, and thank you, Ms. Hartman. That means a lot to me for you to say that. I think another problem as well is that we are denied universality. And what I mean by that is that our experiences aren't seen as universal when in fact they are. In fact, the African-American experience is foundational to this country, but that's constantly denied in every sector imaginable. I had a background in publishing as well. And so we saw how, when I worked in publishing, how African-American authors are sectioned off in the bookstore under Black, but those stories are universal. Why is it that mainstream books by white authors are given that privilege of universality and we're denied. And I think that's central to the issue that we're talking about.
Not just white publishers' universality. They're on a table as soon as you walk in the door to the bookstore. You can't even get to the black bookstore the black bookshelves unless you specifically request them, because the entire industry is set up to promote their books, to promote their stories, to promote their points of view. And one of the reasons I am so proud of KBLA and the work that Tavis Smiley is doing is he really wants us to think about media anew and media consulting anew. Just as I am wrestling with this show and trying to become a better journalist, he's going to open up opportunities, Hermine, Del Marie, Brother Robach, on this station to let us speak to the nation and to the world nationally as Black people, to have a kind of clearinghouse on progressive thought. Del Marie Cobb, how necessary is that?
Oh, it's very necessary, and it's always been necessary. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was doing my show, Street Life, the Progressive, which is in Madison, Wisconsin, heard about the show, and they wanted to come to Chicago to look at it. And when they saw the pilot, the white reporter turned to me and she said, "There's nothing radical about it." I said, "Radical? What would make you think it was going to be radical?" I was a TV reporter for ABC, NBC, and CBS. I wasn't radical then. What would make you think I'm radical now? What's radical about it is that it's Black people telling our own story and Black people being the videographers and the writers. That's what was radical.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Hermine Hartman, Del Marie Cobb, and Takuma Robach are my guests when we come forward.
At least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action.
This is Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm honored that Takuma Roback, Hermine Hartman, Delmarie Cobb have joined me on KBLA Talk 1580. A little birdie told me, Takuma, that you have great admiration for these two pioneers, and I wanted you to share your admiration of Hermine Hartman and Delmarie Cobb.
Wow. So I moved to Chicago in 2004 to enroll in the MFA program at Chicago State University. And I had the privilege to study under Dr. Hakeem Madhubuti in Third World Press. And so I became aware of and used to read Indigo. And I know that he also knows Ms. Hartman as well. So that's how following her from afar and being on, we were on a show called, it's by Daryl Denard. It's another show by Daryl Denard, having the privilege of being on the same show with her and just being in awe of her knowledge, her experience. Now, I will say that I've heard of Miss Cobb. I'm not as familiar. But given your background, your bio, what you've done, it's staggering, and that's been really awesome about being as the managing editor for the Defender for nearly 2 years. Is that I go back in our archives and I see all these distinguished journalists, your Ethel Paynes, even your father. We ran a social media post today about 55 years since the assassination of Fred Hampton, and featuring a column that Jesse, that your father wrote about Fred Hampton and his family and where he came from. Just to be a part of that history, it's humbling. Honestly, it's really humbling. And I'm like, wow, you have those moments when you're in this seat, like, wow, I'm a part of this lineage, I guess.
I wanted to give Takuma that opportunity to share his pride in these two extraordinary African-American women for what they've done for us. I can tell you that Hermine Hartman took a young man right out of college and put him on the cover of her magazine and began a 17-year political career in the Congress of the United States. And that campaign was not possible without the leadership of Delmarie Cobb, who got me to see many of the issues that confronted the people in the city of Chicago, not just from a Black perspective. I was a natural to the Black perspective. But Delmarie Cobb gave me an economic plan. She said, you're going to have to talk to these people through the lens of the economy. You're going to have to build an airport out here in the south suburbs, and you're going to have to talk about what the consequences and the ramifications of expanding this airport, allowing this one to thrive, and not putting something over here near our community where we can have Hyatt and Hilton and Fairmont and convention centers and change our tax base. I got all of that understanding from Delmarie Cobb, and I can't say enough about these two pioneers and what they've done for me. This is our final segment. We've got a nice little hunk of time here. Delmarie Cobb, share with the American people what's next.
Well, I think we're going to be in for a rocky ride, that's for sure. And we are going to have to be vigilant. I mean, I know the initial reaction is to just throw up your hands and say, okay, I quit. I'm out of it. I've done everything I know to do, and we are continuing to go backward. But unfortunately, as Black people, the fight never stops and is never going to stop. And I've made up my mind that I'm going to die with my boots on. And I think all of us are going to have to decide that that's what we're going to do. And because we will be fighting until we literally get into the grave. But you're fighting not just for yourself, you're fighting for the people who come after you. And that's what we have to understand. We may not ever see, just like the airport you mentioned, we may not ever see it. But we fought the good fight so that the generation behind us can enjoy it and benefit from it. And that's what we have to understand, that the big picture is beyond us. It's not just us. And that's what Black women, the reason Black women vote in such large numbers. I mean, they talk about the economy. So I guess we don't buy eggs. So I guess we're just crazy people. We don't eat. We just follow somebody blindly and vote for them, Democratic. No, we voted for democracy because Black women are pragmatic and we are raised to do what's good for the greater good, for everybody, not just ourselves. White people, studies have shown, when they hear somebody talk about what they're going to do for someone else, they internalize that to mean you're taking away from me to give to somebody else. That's not how we see the world. And so that's what we need to understand, is that we've got to be in it for the long haul. This is a long fight. The Republicans understand that. They took 50 years to turn back Roe versus Wade. And we've got to be in that same kind of mindset, that we've got to be in it for the long haul. We've got to reinvigorate our civil rights organizations, and we've got to reinvigorate our people so that the only time we respond is not when there's a riot, but when we're responding every day to the indignities and injustices that occur to us.
Hermine Hartman, what's next? You have a long history from Operation Breadbasket, a movement and assignment given to Jesse Jackson by Martin Luther King Jr., to the present, a long history of resistance. What can we expect next?
So I think we have to realize who goes to the White House. His name is Donald Trump, but he in fact is the grand dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. That is the mentality that has been elected. All of the senior people that he is appointing to be a part of his cabinet are derelicts. The media is fixing them up to be not a drunk, but an alcoholic, abusive person. Not a rapist, but a sexually abusive person. Nobody knows what they're doing. There is a disrespect for women. There is a disrespect for experts. There's a disrespect for bureaucratic civil servants, people who've been there, people who have done it, people who know it. It is frightening that these people will have power and access to nuclear weapons. This is scary, that this is the mentality that is about to rule our country. I think we have to realize that. I don't think we need to sugarcoat it. And we are probably, for some of the rights that we have fought for, are probably going to take some steps backwards. We have to realize when Trump says he's coming after the media, we have to understand, what does that mean? We don't know what that means, but it's probably going to be some kind of oppression, suppression. We have to realize that a lady who runs wrestling will late education. Maybe they will teach wrestling in schools. We have to realize that this is real. We have to realize that PBS may go away. We have to realize that NPR may vanish. We have to realize that this is reality. This is not a joke. This is not laughter. This is not a comedic review. This could actually happen. This is occurrences that could happen. And I think we have to take it very seriously. I tell people at this time, you should probably save every dime you got. Don't go out here and spend all your money on Christmas gifts, being stupid, because we are probably going to undergo some real harshness in our society as we know it. If he puts tariffs on with these countries, we probably won't know what guacamole looks like anymore. We probably won't know what fresh fruit and fresh vegetables is anymore, because it'd be too damn expensive for us to buy it and to eat it. So we've got to put some reality to this. It's not funny. It's accountability. It's what do we do? Some of us who have been fighting for so many years, we know the fight. I'm very nervous for Gen X. I'm very nervous for the millenniums because they don't know. They don't understand. They think this is TikTok. They think this is social media talking. And they don't realize your education is about to be aborted. You're not going to be able to buy a house. You may not be able to buy a car. Some of your little toys are going to go away. They're going to vanish from you. I hope the police, what Trump has given America is permission to be racist again. That's truly what make America great again. That's what it means. And this is why you need the black press, because we need interpretation. We need perspective on this stuff.
Delmarie Cobb, Hermine Hartman, Takuma Robach, thank you very much for joining me on KBLA Talk 1580. You're always welcome back on our program. You're always welcome back on the station. And I can't wait for the new year to begin. I'm Jesse Jackson, Talk 1580. Until